recording. Yeah, so I guess why don't you could you tell me your name and just
My name is Boots Nathan, really Elizabeth L. Nathan, nickname Boots.
Okay, great. Where did you grow up, Boots?
I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago,
Yeah.
and went to Ravinia School, which was 1 through 8, then went to Highland Park High School.
Highland Park High School. What was that like back then?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 1,200 kids, about 400 in each class.
Oh wow.
No, maybe it wasn't 1,200. That isn't working out right. But maybe about 300 in each class. And great teachers and great spirit. We had a football team and a basketball team and the whole works. It was just a really fun co-ed high school.
What are some of your most fondest memories from
high school?
Yeah.
Well, I was in a dance group, which I loved. And we'd put on shows. We had a thing every year called Senior Day, but the lower classmen could be in it.
Wow.
And we did dance steps that we made up. It was probably pretty corny, but we thought they were just wonderful.
That's excellent.
And I admired lots of my teachers. Not all of them, but quite a few. They were good.
Now, brothers and sisters. Sorry, I'm asking questions. You guys are no, but brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I have 2 sisters. I'm the middle child.
Yeah.
An older sister and a younger sister.
What was it like growing up in Highland Park with them?
It was great. It really was great. Yeah.
Did you ever get into any mischief or anything?
Oh yes, of course. Oh yeah.
Do you have any good stories of that?
Well, I remember once. It wasn't in high school. I was still in grammar school. We used to try and steal things from the dime store. And I remember I stole a Tangy lipstick. And that was just, I couldn't believe I'd done it, but I was dared to do it, you know. I probably was in 3rd grade or something. And I remember thinking later, I can't believe I did that.
You just stole it. You never got caught, though?
No.
No.
No. But it impressed in my memory. I still remember the day I did it because it was so scary.
Yeah.
I think that was really the worst thing I ever did.
What about kind of more family traditions? Did you guys have any big family traditions growing up?
We did. Sunday lunches. My father, who was a great golfer and a great guy, we had to have roast beef at 1 o'clock and potatoes and some kind of vegetable. But for dessert, we always had to have vanilla ice cream and chocolate sauce.
That was the
And that
rule?
was just mandatory. Yeah.
Now, was that also your dad mandated that? Was that his favorite thing?
Yeah,
or
and I think my mother went along with it. It was really, we just knew Sunday lunch was going to be fabulous. But it was mostly what Dad wanted.
Now, Josie had told me you come from a pretty big Chicago family. Did you guys see each other a lot? Were there a lot of family events?
Well, my father built a house on Waverly Road, which is still there. You should drive them by. It's a pretty house. And his brother built a house right next door. So my uncle was right next door and his wife. And yeah, we did lots of family things. And then my grandmother lived on the south side. And when we didn't have Sunday lunches at home, we would have Sunday lunches at grandmother's.
Oh, that's awesome.
On the south side.
Would a lot of people go, or just
Yeah,
oh, wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. Well, what was she like, your grandmother?
My grandmother, she was a big, imposing woman, and very kind of robust and laughed a lot. And I never knew my grandfather, because I think he died way before I was born. But yeah, my grandmother was fun to be with. She loved flowers, and they were the ones who built the house in Charlevoix, Michigan. So they were up there a lot.
And is that where you guys would spend some summers?
Every summer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The whole gang would go up there?
Yeah, the whole gang.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Eddie, what went on there? Any traditions there? Games, a lot of eating?
We did a lot of charades.
Oh yeah.
At night, which was fun. No, my father and my uncle played golf. And Mother never really cooked. She had somebody who was cooking, but she'd say to us, don't you want to learn how to cook? Well, my older sister and younger sister did learn. And I always said, no, I don't want to. So I never did.
You never learned to cook? Good for you.
No, I could do stuff in the microwave. That's about it.
That's all right.
Right, Josie?
When was the last time you turned on your oven?
Oh, God. Years ago. In fact, my husband said once, why don't you just put your shoes in the oven and store them there? Because it's never used.
Should we do some pictures? Should we see what that's like if we do
Sure.
some picture time?
I could just talk to you all day. You got a lot of really good stuff to say.
Why don't you pick one that
Let's see. Here's my mother.
are there any that show like an event that you can describe what was happening when it was taken? Or this is a cool one.
Yeah, that's Dad in the Navy.
There you go.
What about, you want to talk about the one on the boat?
Well,
Or I don't know what this one is. Or what about this? Where was that one taken?
that was in Charlevoix. That's my two sisters and my mom.
Where about this one here?
This one.
Oh, under that.
Should I turn it around?
Yeah,
You want me to hold it up?
Yeah, why don't you hold it up? That'll be easier. I
And
think.
why don't you, can you just tell us like where, do you remember what event that was taken at?
That
or-
was, I think, just in Charlevoix one summer.
Wow.
We were all together.
So who all's in the photograph there?
This is my mother.
Mm-hmm.
This is my older sister Jane, who unfortunately has passed away, and me and my younger sister Jenna in Charlevoix.
What are you guys all dressed up for?
I think we had company for dinner or something, otherwise we wouldn't have been dressed up. That was the other thing in Charlevoix. As I said, Dad was always playing golf in the morning. And then my grandmother would ring the bell. And then we'd go down to the beach. And my grandmother would ring the bell at 1:45, or a servant or somebody rang the bell. And then we heard it on the beach, and we knew we had to come up and be dressed for 1 o'clock lunch. I mean, it was quite formal.
Yeah, really formal.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it still relaxing though, or you were still
Oh,
able to-
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we really didn't know any difference. So it was just fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can I see the questions for a sec? It
Yeah,
occurs
yeah,
to me,
yeah, yeah.
something
Please.
occurs to me.
It's the lightest
The-
computer of all
I
time.
know, isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
We can't have our responses because that's going to be hard to edit. So,
Yes.
we actually, okay, I'm going to try something, Boo. Which
Okay.
is, I think it would be good if you could tell us a story. And we're not going to laugh at anything you say. We're not going to respond at all. So don't let that weird you out.
Well, I would say, do you think that like in real life we would be able to have like a microphone so that it would be easier to edit just her track?
I think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we would need a mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for this instance, let's see. Tell us, can you talk about the day that you got married?
Oh, sure. It was June 28th, 1947. And it was really hot. It was horrible. And I remember Mother kept saying, you know, it should cool off, it should cool off. Well, it never did. So I was married in our house at Waverly Road. And then there was a party in the backyard. They had tents and everything. And then we went to Chicago for our wedding night. And we were in the Drake Hotel. We had a suite, and there were dead flowers all over because there was no air conditioning. And I kept thinking, oh God, you know, people didn't sleep with other people in those days. And I kept thinking, I'd like to go to an air-conditioned movie, you know, instead. But we didn't. And then we went to Banff and Lake Louise on our honeymoon, which was great.
Can you tell us about a favorite vacation that you've taken?
A favorite what?
Vacation that you've taken?
My favorite trip of all, but I didn't do it with Joe, I went with the Ravinia Women's Board, was to India. And then I did go back with Joe, and he didn't like it the way I just loved it. I really did, just adored it. It's so completely foreign, and nothing really gets done on time, and it doesn't make any difference. I thought was very mysterious and marvelous.
Any good stories from that trip?
No, we went to southern India, which was fabulous. No, the difference of you walk out of this gorgeous Taj Mahal hotel, and 2 minutes away there were beggars on the streets, and it was such a vivid comparison of the way people lived and then you as a tourist. But I don't know, there was something just magical about India. I loved it. I think that would be my favorite trip of all.
Can you tell us if there are any world events that really impacted you? Like a big historical event, like the assassination of the president? Or...
Well, my first vivid event that really impacted me was, I think I was a sophomore in high school. It was 1941, and the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. And I remember I was in a glee club where we had to stand like this and hold our hand that way and sing. And we were doing a concert that afternoon at Ravinia School. And I remember Mom or Dad waking me up and say, the Japs have bombed Pearl Harbor. And I remember saying, where's Pearl Harbor? You know, I had no idea. And I remember that vividly because it just changed everything. Did you
know that the war then, we were going to be going to war at that point?
Yeah,
it was clear?
yeah. In fact, our whole high school class, all the boys went to war in 44. Yeah.
Can you think of a world event, trying to explain a world event to your kids, like when you were older, something that happened that was important in their lives?
Well, your brothers always said, we had a boathouse in Charlevoix, and it burned down years before the boys had ever even seen it. And I remember that was their favorite bedtime story. Tell us how the boathouse burned down. I don't think you had one, Jossie.
That's funny. What else do we have here? What do you think is most different about the way that people grow up today versus how you grew up?
Oh, I think there's a huge difference.
What do you think the most...
They're on their goddamn machines all the time, which I think is so horrible. They don't really interact. I mean, you go out with a bunch of kids your age, excuse me, and they're always looking on their machines.
Yeah.
So they don't talk. And if they're at least my age group, if you go to a dinner party, you sit around and you talk. And I've noticed your age kids, I'm not putting a hex on you, never do. I mean, you may talk among yourselves, but most of the time you're looking and texting. So why bother going out with other people? Yeah, that I would say that's a big, huge difference.
What have you been most proud of your kids for doing? Or what has been sort of the most interesting thing about being a parent for you?
About my kids or my grandkids?
Either, I guess.
Well, I'd like them all to be smart. I really would. I don't want dumbbells around. And that goes for the grandchildren, too.
Is that all that you wanted for them?
No, I want them to be happy, of course. But I want them to make smart decisions in life. Really. Which would make them happy, you would hope.
Let's see what else we have here. Do you guys have other ones?
I'm sure. Think of stuff.
What are you most proud of that you've done?
I think a lot of charity work, which I've done, loads of it. And you really feel like you're helping other people, which I think is important.
You talk a little
I don't
bit
know
more.
that I'm so proud of it,
Yeah.
but I'm glad I did it all. I really am. I used to go to the South Side and teach music to the kids, which was not horribly rewarding because half of them fell asleep. and you felt they were getting out of a class to come to this dumb music class, you know, and have these two ladies come in. But then you figure maybe if you reach one kid out of the 30 you're teaching, it's great. But I don't know that we ever did. And then they'd come to the symphony, they were bussed in, and hear the program that we'd been teaching them. So I thought that was very worthwhile.
Okay, I have a question. So you said you have 3 children, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, think of each one of your children and one way that they're like you.
Oh, God.
And like tell me their names. So like
All right, my first was Jeff, Joseph E. Nathan Jr., called Jeff, and then Ernest Claude Nathan, called Ernie, and Liz Nathan Florence, Jossie's mother. Are they most like me? I think Jeff is a lot like his father, more than me. And I think Ernie is more like me. And Liz, I think, is a great combination of both of them. I really do.
what makes them
And
like,
she was her father's personal pet all her life. And the boys knew it too. But they didn't mind.
Are there traits, like specific things that you see of yourself in Ernie or my mom?
Yeah, Ernie laughs a lot. He has a cute sense of humor, but so does Jeff. And Jeff is very good at writing. He's a good writer. And Liz, I think, is probably, you shouldn't hear this, Jossie, probably the most capable girl I know. Because she can do anything. And does. And all in good humor and good sense.
When raising them, are there any stories from when they were younger that they did something that?
Well, the two boys were absolutely horrible to Liz.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. There was a fad then called troll dolls, and she collected troll dolls. And where we lived in Highland Park, we had a balcony in front, and they dangled the troll dolls off the balcony and say to Liz, unless you do whatever they wanted her to do, we're going to drop the troll dolls. They were horrible to her. They really were. Just awful. And she ended up kind of running the whole family. And the boys defer to her now. But they didn't as young kids at all. They were always, trying to get her in trouble.
What was it like? What was it? What was it like raising the 3 of them when they were really little? Were they good little kids, or?
Yeah, they really were. They were great. Yeah.
How is it different? How are you different with your grandkids than you were with your kids?
I'm much more lenient. Much more lenient. I'm probably over lenient. Because they're my grandchildren. And then I can walk out the door, and then whatever damage I've done, their parents have to worry about. But I don't know, I was raised in a very happy family. And I think that makes a huge difference, really. It kind of stands you, I think, in good stead for the rest of your life. Excuse me, I've had bronchitis. I'm not catching, but I keep coughing.
Well, do we have any other questions, guys?
I don't have. I mean, are there any risks you wish you had taken that you didn't, or risks you did take that paid off for you in your life?
No. I'm not a great risk taker at all. I'm very careful. I think overly careful. Yeah. I wish I could say there were, but there really weren't.
Do you have any pieces of advice for your grandkids or anyone in our generation?
Just do your best all the time. Be happy. Don't be afraid of stuff. Go for whatever you want to go for.
Sounds good to me.
That's great. Yeah.
Can you think of anything else?
can't really think of anything else. Do you guys have other?
No, this is fantastic.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We kind of talked through a picture, yeah?
Maybe we should let's talk through a picture a little bit more.
Okay.
So like,
Well, here, let's take the sisters.
this one?
Yeah.
Oh, you could do,
Well, these are my sisters.
Maybe we can do is, you know what we can do? We can put the camera down on that so we know which one she's talking about, and then if
Yeah.
we want to scan, or then she doesn't have
yeah,
to worry
yeah,
about.
yeah,
So-
that's true. Yeah, so that's a good idea.
So just like
I
get it in
also
the
might
frame.
have that picture electronically, if that's the one that we're doing. I think I have. I think my mom has that picture. So
Does she?
We might be able to use it without scanning it. I think she does. I think she gave you that picture, maybe. No?
This was at Ernie's wedding.
Oh.
Well, tell us more about the photo. But
Oh, all right. These are my two sisters, my older sister and younger sister. This says 1985, Ernie's wedding. Yeah. Wait a minute, let's see how they go. There's my younger sister, there's me, and there's my older sister. And we were very close. I was closer, I hope Jenna never sees that, my younger sister. I was closer to my older sister, who was kind of ethereal, and she drew and she wrote, and I didn't get along that well with Jenna. We were more competitive. But Jane, you couldn't not get along with, because she was kind of ethereal. She was great.
Are you happy that you had sisters? Did you ever want a brother?
No, I really didn't. And I don't think my father did either. I think he loved having 3 girls. You could ask Jeff about that. My son has 3 girls.
and what about Ernie's wedding? How was that? Was Ernie's wedding a fun time?
It was in our apartment on State Street. Yeah, but it turned out not to be because they got divorced.
Oh,
Yeah. He married a girl from Manchester, England, who came over here as a nanny, and it just didn't work out. But they had 2 girls and then got a divorce. And he raised the children. She just left.
Do you remember what you were doing when that picture was taken? Was that before? Do you remember when that picture was taken? Was it before the wedding or after? Or?
I think it was after. Yeah. Yeah. No, the wedding was nice. But it didn't work.
You've been to a lot of weddings.
Right, right.
Was there a wedding that you had a really good time at? That you can think of that stands out?
Well, Becca, my granddaughter, the only one who's married, was married up in Charlevoix. And that was really fun. And the weather had been horrible. Like 4 days before the wedding, it was September. It was cold and rainy and just awful. And they wanted to be married outside. And the day of the wedding, it was like magic. Cleared up, it was just gorgeous. I'm a little cool, but beautiful. You were a bridesmaid, Jossie.
Mm-hmm. It was cold in the bridesmaid's dress.
I think the one thing that you haven't asked me this, but I'll just tell you, the one thing nice about Charlevoix was all the kids, my sisters, 2 sisters' kids, and our kids, all would come up in the summertime. You know, all 12 of them. So they really got very close, which was great.
what about
And they've stayed close,
Yeah.
so that's nice.
Would you say that Charlevoix is your favorite place?
Probably the beach, which was wonderful. We used to have fun down there.
Is that important to you to have that tradition in the family?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it made all the grandchildren very, very close. You know, they're like a pack of thieves. They're really close, which is, I think, great.
Your grandmother, as you mentioned her before, did she was she born in the States, or was she
Who?
your grandmother that you talked about?
She was born here,
Okay.
and my grandfather was born here. But my grandfather's father, I guess, came over from Germany. And, because I remember grandfather, I've seen letters he wrote in German, but I never knew him. And my other grandfather in Birmingham, I didn't know either.
And what about Papa's family?
They were both born here. Yeah.
And you saw them a lot when you guys were just married?
Yeah, we did see them a lot. The nice part right after we got married was we moved up to Marinette, Wisconsin. My husband's father had a glove business called Eisendress Glove Company, and we lived there for 6 months, which was great. So we were away from everybody. It was fun. And I think Joe joined the Rotary Club, and, you know, we became part of that bunch in Marinette. And we actually lived in Menominee, Michigan, over a bus garage. Not very great apartment, horrible apartment, no windows, no nothing. And every morning about 5 o'clock you could hear the buses zoom out under us, you know. It was not very great at all. But we were away from family and it was fun.
It's nice. So just 6 months, and then you come back
then we
to Chicago.
came back. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's so funny.
Uh-huh.
I never knew that.
Maybe can we do one more photo?
Yeah, let's do another
Yeah.
photo. Let's do maybe one. Oh, why don't we do that one? Because that has a lot of people in it. The one on the here, I'll grab
Oh,
it.
this one?
Yeah, but that's a big one.
That's all the grandchildren.
Do you remember when that was taken?
We lived in Chicago at 1550 North State Parkway, and this was a Christmas picture. All the kids.
It's great. Yeah, you don't have to hold it up. Don't worry.
Hmm?
You don't have to hold it up. You
Okay.
can put it down. I don't want to make you have to hold it.
Do you remember
that's-
when it was taken?
It was one Christmas. I don't have a date on this that I can see.
Did you guys always get together for Christmas? A lot of people?
Yeah.
Did you do anything?
We used to mostly do Christmas Eve. And my cousin Henry came and broke a chair one day at the dining room table. It was everybody got hysterical.
What happened? What had you just sit down and?
Or he maybe leaned back and a leg went off or something, but everybody, you know, poor Henry, I mean, he was fine. But it's a good thing he was fine because everybody was hysterical. There's something about falling down that makes you laugh. Yeah, these are all the grandchildren. Okay, we'll put this one back. What else?
I have one other question.
Okay.
You talked a little bit about your wedding day,
Yeah.
and Joe was so will you tell me about, do you remember like when you guys met or what made you fall in love with him? Why did you choose to marry him?
The way we met was Joe was in the Army, in the war, and my father, who was very, very patriotic, it was such a different time that it's unbelievable. And he joined the Navy, and he was the commander in the Navy, you know, with all this brass, and he meets Joe on a bus in Hawaii. And he knew the Nathan family. So he said, "Hi, Jojo, how are you? How are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And then evidently he wrote the Nathans and told them he'd seen his son and everything was fine. So when the war was over, Joe came home, and his parents said to him, "You've got to go over to Ernie Loeb's house and thank him. He was so nice during the war. He wrote us a letter." So that's how I met him. I happened to answer the door, and there he was. But then I was dating other people. We didn't get together right away.
What did you think about him when you met him then?
Nothing much, because I think I was crazy about somebody else. It took a while, but I'm glad that it took.
How did he propose?
We were standing at home, in my house, where I grew up, and talking in the hall, and I think Joe asked me to marry him. And my father came in, because we were so serious, and he said, "Joe, do you want to borrow a car tonight?" I don't think Joe had a car. And Joe said, no, I just asked your daughter to marry me. And Dad said, great, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's how it happened. And my father was very direct and talked quite fast. And my mother was from Birmingham, Alabama, and kind of a Southern belle. Never lost her Southern accent. But they were really madly in love with each other, and it was a great house to grow up in.
How had they met?
In Charlevoix, Michigan. My mother's family had come up there for the hay fever or something. And originally, and Mother was very, very pretty, originally my uncle, Alan, started taking her out. And evidently on every date when she went out with Uncle Alan, she'd say, what's Ernie doing tonight? In that Southern accent. And finally, Alan said to my father, you start taking her out. All she does is ask about you. So that's how they met.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
She knew what she wanted.
And why do you think that your marriage with Papa worked really well? Like, what was it about it that made it work?
Well, he amused me, number one. I mean, that sounds trite. I never knew what he was going to do next. And some of the stuff he did wasn't so great. I don't know, we just got along. We really did. And I admired him. And I think he admired me, and it was just a really good marriage.
You say he amused. Was he a funny guy? He was.
Very funny, yeah. Yeah, he saw things in a completely different way, but it was interesting. And he was one of 5 kids, and their family was really raucous, that whole Nathan family. But they had a good time. So, no, it was a great marriage. It really was. What else, Joss?
I don't know. Do you guys have anything else?
I don't.
Trisha?
Trisha's asleep over here.
Oh, she's
I
asleep.
love it.
Wake up!
No, I'm typing.
Is there anything else that you feel like we didn't ask you that you feel like you need to tell us, or
No.
feel like we covered all the bases?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
You've got
Well,
a lot of
okay.
great stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that was good. This was really useful. Is that from Lauderdale?
That wasn't